Good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 11th, 2025. We're here this morning for our Administrative Matters meeting, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. I call this meeting to order, and we will begin with public comment. I don't know if we have anyone signed up for public comment, but if anybody would like to give public comment, please come up to the podium here. You would have 3 minutes to speak, and please introduce yourself.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And could I pass these pictures? Yes.
And sorry, you were signed up for public comment. I do have you here. Thanks, Mike.
Appreciate it. Honorable members of Larimer County Council, my name's Mike Walsh, and I am a proud resident of Larimer County. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I propose renaming Blue Mountain, which is directly to the west of the new Chimney Hollow Reservoir. I propose renaming it to Sleeping Mammoth Mountain, a name that connects our future to our remarkable past. In 2017, geotechnical investigations for Chimney Hollow Reservoir project unearthed partial skeletons of both an adult and juvenile mammoth at the mountain's base. These discoveries reveal that our land once played host to these magnificent creatures. The silhouette of the Blue Mountain itself evokes the image of a sleeping mammoth, making this name not just symbolic, but deeply rooted in history. The Blue Mountain Conservation Area includes the Harper Conservation Easement, the Ramsey Shockey Open Space, Blue Mountain Bison Ranch Conservation Easement, lands initially intended to preserved for bison grazing and conservation with limited public access. The Northern Colorado Water District has acquired 1,600 acres in Chimney Hollow for a future reservoir, with tentative plans to open more public access for hiking, biking, boating in the next 3 to 5 years. Renaming the mountain now sets the stage for future tourism and education. Visitors will one day hike these trails, read about the mammoth discoveries, and connect with the rich history of our region. This initiative will enhance Larimer County's identity while driving sustainable tourism and economic growth, boosting local businesses, outdoor recreation, and educational programs. And as stewards of this land, the Council has a unique opportunity to support this initiative. I urge you to formally endorse the proposal and take the next steps to secure this historic name change. The next steps would be applying to the U.S. Board on Geographic Name Changes and continue with robust public engagement to move the idea forward. Within the next 3 years remaining until the completion of the Chimney Hollow Reservoir, we have a timely window to secure the historic name change. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. I look forward to working with you on this to honor our county's extraordinary legacy. And just finally, this proposal has also been supported and endorsed by the graduate students at the CSU Hydraulic Laboratory. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
The pictures are of the mountain, too, so you can see that it really does look like a sleeping mammoth.
Cool. Thank you. Well, thank you we will take a look at that for sure. Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to give public comment this morning? Sarah, was there anyone on the telephone who wanted to
No,
give public
Commissioner.
comment? Okay. All right. Then we will close public comment. We'll bring it back to the board. Would anybody like to make some comments? Commissioner Shattuck McNally?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for coming today and bringing this to our attention. It looks like you did some of your research, and so appreciate showing the next steps and things. Certainly, this is something we can look into and then get back to you. So I hope that you gave your contact information on that, whatever you handed out, and it's certainly something that I know about when they found that. So I've forgotten about it. So thanks for renewing that, and just really thankful that you came and talked to us today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cavalos, anything to add?
Sure, why not? Thank you, Mike Walsh. Interesting
idea that you present. It's the first I've heard of it, so thank you for that. Two thoughts to consider. One is, if you haven't already, it would be a good idea to speak with our Department of Natural Resources folks, as we will, when Chimney Hollow is complete and the reservoir is filled with water. I mean, the county will be responsible for the recreation aspects and the trail aspects of that. So I think it would be wise to speak with those folks and see what they all think, and their various, there's a Parks Advisory Board, Open Lands Advisory Board, and they ought to be consulted on this. The second comment I would make is I've had a little bit of experience with the U.S. Board of Geologic name changes or something close to that, as there was a request. There was an unnamed mountain west of Red Feather Lakes, and that we've undertaken an effort, some of the residents up there, to give that mountain a name based on some historic values. But it seems like it's been a rather laborious, not very timely process. So if you haven't engaged with them, you might be aware of that as well. Thank you.
Yeah, that is, I believe it is like a 3-year process.
Yeah, I'll just add that thank you, Mike, for coming in. I think this is a great idea. We'll take a look, and thanks for bringing it forward to us. All right, we'll move on to our next agenda item. That is approval of the minutes. I took a photo of that. I will ask Commissioner Kofalis to make that motion.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I move to approve the minutes for the week of February 24th, 2025.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. So we will move on to the upcoming schedule review. And I believe Sarah, and gosh, I was so flustered this morning, I don't think I introduced myself or my colleagues or anyone. So I apologize for that. I'm Kristen Stevens, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. With me are my fellow commissioners, Jody Shattuck McNally and John Kofalis. We have our county manager with us, Lorenda Volker. From the clerk's office, we have Lindsay Jones, who's also training Diane Cheney. And we have Tom Clayton from Public Relations. And we have Sarah Martin from our office. And now that that's done, I will ask Sarah to do the upcoming schedule review for the week of March 17th.
This is the Commissioner's schedule for March 17th through the 21st. On Monday, March 17th from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Colorado Department of Transportation Statewide Transportation Advisory Committee and Transportation Commission Coordination Meeting. From 1:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., there will be a work session with Leslie Ellis, Director of Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources, in the Commissioner's Conference Room on the second floor. On Tuesday, March 18th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., there will be an Administrative Matters meeting in the hearing room on the first floor. From 1:30 p.m. to 2 p.m., there will be a legislative direction to county staff in the Sprague Lake Conference Room on the second floor. From 2 p.m. to 3 p.m., there will be administrative direction to county management in the Sprague Lake Conference Room on the second floor. From 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., Commissioner Stevens will speak to the Fort Collins Santa Club at Red Lobster at 3301 South College Avenue in Fort Collins. On Wednesday, March 19th, from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., Commissioners may attend the Veterans Together meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be in the Boyd Lake Conference Room on the first floor or virtually via Zoom. On Thursday, March 20th, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., there will be Common Grounds with Commissioner Shattuck McNally. It will be an open topic of discussion at Kind Coffee at 470 East Elkhorn Avenue in Estes Park. From 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., Commissioners Stevens and Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Counties and Commissioners Acting Together Transportation and Natural Resources /Wildfire Committee meeting. From 3 p.m. to 4 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization Finance Committee meeting. From 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., Commissioner Kofalis may attend the Board of Health meeting. It's a hybrid meeting. In person, it will be at 1525 Blue Spruce Drive in Fort Collins or virtually via Zoom. On Friday, March 21st, from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual State Forest Health Council Legislative Committee meeting. From 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 a.m., Commissioner Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Northern Colorado Partners meeting. From 11:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., Commissioners Kafalis and Shattuck McNally may participate in the virtual Counties and Commissioners Acting Together Fiscal Reform and Housing Committee meeting. And from 1:30 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., Commissioner Stevens may participate in the virtual Colorado Works Allocation Committee meeting.
Thank you, Sarah. Any corrections or additions? Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
And I'm Commissioner Stevens. I think you're in the same meeting. We will probably be in our meeting got moved to the 21st at 8:30 to 9:30 for CCAT.
Oh, that's right. Yep, I will be at that meeting.
So just
anything else?
I have other meetings, but they don't need to be. They're not. I might be going on a tour of ground tour on Wednesday, March 19th with staff for the Halligan site. So,
all right, Commissioner Kafalis, any corrections?
Thanks, Madam Chair, Kristen Stevens. The only comment I would offer is regarding the Veterans Together meeting on Wednesday. I would double check that with Lee Cooper in our Veterans Service Office, because I think they're going to every other month for those meetings. So the next one may be in April, but I would double check that. There may not be a meeting in March. Thank you.
All right. So moving on, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. So I'll read through those items. The first items are abatements, and we have quite a few this morning. There are 15 petitions for abatement or refund of taxes. Information on those can be found online. Next, we have agreements. The first agreement is a Fort Collins fiber use license agreement that runs through December 31st of 2029, and the total dollar value is approximately $245,000. The next agreement is a State of Colorado contract modification amendment, and this outlines Amendment Number 5 to a contract between the State of Colorado Department of Healthcare Policy and Financing and the Larimer County Office on Aging. The total dollar amount of this, the terms are through June 30th of 2025, and the total dollar amount is $121,000 for the state fiscal year 25, and totaling approximately $279,000 for all state fiscal years. The third agreement is Amendment Number 7 to Agreement for Services. This is between the County Commissioners and Intellectual Technology related to the self-service kiosks provided by the Clerk's Office at remote locations to allow vehicle registration renewals. This is effective October 28th of this year, and it is open-ended, and the total dollar amount is not applicable. Those are great kiosks if you haven't used them. The fourth agreement is an intergovernmental agreement concerning the Livermore Conservation Project, and this intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, documents the funding partnership between Larimer County and the City of Fort Collins related to the county's planned purchase of conservation easements in the Open Lands Master Plan's Livermore Priority Area. And the total dollar amount of this is approximately $8.9 million for Larimer County, $3 million for Fort Collins, and about $2.7 million in grants. Next, we have the intergovernmental agreement concerning the Trilby 6.0 tank. This is terms and agreements between Larimer County Solid Waste Department and Fort Collins Loveland Water District pertaining to the county's disposition of a 10.2 acre property to Fort Collins Loveland Water District. The total dollar amount is $890,000. Then we have an amendment to excess capacity carriage agreement and crossing agreement. Larimer County and United Water have a 5-year agreement commencing in 2020 and expiring March 17, 2025, to allow United Water to use the county's existing easement and right-of-way on the Fisher Lateral to convey water supplies until United Water can construct its permanent pipeline. For such purposes, United Water is requesting a one-year extension to allow time to complete the permanent pipeline. So that will run through March 17th of next year. Then finally, we have a grant award agreement for the Community Wildfire Defense Grant. The Office of Emergency Management was notified in May of 2024 of the determination of an award through the U.S. Forest Service Community Wildfire Defense Grant for the purposes of implementing the Red Feather Lakes Area Wildfire Defense Project. The grant award is $9,696,438 with no match requirement. The U.S. Forest Service is the awarding federal entity, and the Colorado State University is the pass-through entity. As I said, that was between Larimer County and Colorado State University. We move on to appointments. There are quite a few appointments to boards and commissions. The first is a recommended full-term appointment to the Behavioral Health Technical Advisory Committee for Ashley Braun. That is a term that runs through November 30th, 2027. There is a full-time appointment to the Behavioral Health Technical Advisory Committee for Allison Ford, and that term also ends November 30th, 2027. There is a recommended full-term appointment to the Behavioral Health Technical Advisory Committee for Savannah Nafsinger, and that ends November 30th, 2027. There's a recommended youth appointment to the Behavioral Health Consumer Advisory Committee for Nevaeh Green, and that is a one-year term, and that would end March 11th, 2026. An appointment to the Saddleback Public Improvement District for Kevin Brookfield with a term ending November 30th, 2028. A midterm appointment to the Board of Appeals for Greg Fisher. That term would end June 30th, 2026. There's a recommended appointment to the Fox Ridge Estates Public Improvement District for Reed Smedley, and that term would end November 30th, 2028. A recommended appointment to the Pinewood Springs General Improvement District for Jim Wendell with a term that will end November 30th, 2028. A recommended midterm appointment to the Meadowdale Hills General Improvement District that will end November 30th, 2026. An appointment to the Meadow Hills General Improvement District for Michael Aldrich with a term that will end November 30th, 2028. And then a recommended midterm appointment to the Estes Valley Public Library District for Peter Benton, and that term would end December 31st, 2027. We have 6 liquor licenses on the agenda. First is liquor license transfership of ownership for Pooter's Pub LLC, doing business as Pooter's Pub. That's a hotel and restaurant license. The second is a liquor license transfer of ownership from Trading Post, doing business as Jailhouse Liquors. That is a retail liquor store license. A renewal for the River Forks Inn in Drake, Colorado, for a tavern license. A transfer of ownership for Ptarmigan Country Club, which is a hotel and restaurant license. A liquor license tasting permit for Supermarket Liquors in Fort Collins. And finally, a liquor license renewal for Senor Rafael at the Mexican Inn in Loveland, Colorado, and that's a hotel and restaurant license. We have 4 miscellaneous items. 2 are stipulations as to tax year 2024 value, and that can be found, more information can be found online on those. We have a statement of authority that authorizes a land agent to execute closing documents associated with Larimer County Solid Waste Department. We have Larimer County legislative positions. More information can be found for these legislative positions on the Board of County Commissioners page and also on the Secretary of State's website. We're coming to the end, folks. We got 4 resolutions. The first resolution is adopting the manufactured housing park preservation zoning in the district in Larimer County. This is to adopt proposed manufactured housing park preservation, which we're calling MHPP, zoning district in the Larimer County Land Use Code. And the hearing for this item was held December 9th, 2024. We have a resolution approving the disposition of Lot 2B, Trilby Tank, and quitclaim deed conveying the property in Larimer County. This is associated with Solid Waste Department land disposition and represents the board's authorization to sell that 10.2 acre property that was discussed earlier in the agenda. Our third is a findings and resolutions approving the Cerro Resort Cabin Administrative Review and Appeals. This was a request for 3 detached rental cabins with a total of 5 bedrooms and 3 sleeping areas for a maximum of 6 guests to be rented on a short-term basis. And then the final resolution is authorizing submission of an application for payment under the State Criminal Alien Assistance Program. The Larimer County Sheriff's Office has been awarded a state criminal alien assistance program from the U.S. Department of Justice for $89,000. This grant assists with costs resulting from the incarceration of undocumented criminal aliens from July 1st, 2022 to July 30th, 2023. The final drawdown of this grant requires the acceptance by the authorized representative of the unit of local government. And the Board of County Commissioners will be accepting the award of federal funding on behalf of the Larimer Sheriff's Office. So, phew, that was a lot, right? Would either commissioner like to remove anything off this long consent agenda? No. Commissioner Shattuck McNally, will you make the motion to approve this consent agenda?
Certainly, Madam Chair. I move to approve the consent agenda for March 11th, 2025.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on any of these items? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. And we will move on to our next agenda item, which is Commissioner's guest. And this...
Yeah, she's
Okay.
Clerk and Recorder Tina Harris contacted me about 2 or 3 weeks ago and asked to be my guest today to bring up this wonderful new program that we want to make everyone aware of. And so all about retiring flags and some partnerships she has. So I'll go ahead and invite our Clerk and Recorder of Larimer County, Tina Harris, up to tell us about this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. It's always so nice to be here. First and foremost, I'm Tina Harris. I'm the Clerk and Recorder. I want to make sure I introduce myself, even though you did such a great job. I'm excited to share a meaningful new service that honors the nation's flag while strengthening our community partnerships. So we partnered with the Scouting America Troop 97 to provide U.S. flag retirement boxes in all 3 of our offices. So we have one here in our recording office, we have one in our motor vehicle office or our vehicle licensing office in Loveland, and one in Estes Park. And it has already gained a lot of recognition, and the reason I say that is because those boxes are almost half full. So we're very excited to be able to provide that service. We do have a spotlight on the clerk's page and then also the Larimer County page. So if anyone wants any more information about it, Scout Grace Spreister led the project with other scouts as part of his Eagle Scout Service project. And once we collect, we'll have someone come in to collect those flags. Once we collect those flags, they'll come and pick them up, and then they will follow the proper U.S. flag etiquette to retire them. So this is a service that we're very proud of. And if you need any more information, please don't hesitate to reach out to our office. We're happy to provide that. And then the public is really encouraged to utilize these boxes and to share this information with their friends and neighbors. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is that we have partnered with Larimer County Public Affairs, and so this month we will be hosting a Larimer Unlocked session, Life of the Ballot. We'll have 2 sessions, one on March 20th and then the other on March 25th. The one on March 20th is at 6 p.m. And then we'll also do a day session on March 25th. It'll be at 9:30 a.m. And we will do tours of our central count facility and walk members of the community through the life of the ballot. There is limited space, so please go out and register. And you can do that at larimer.gov/unlocked. And so we are very excited about that. Once you register, then we'll give you the location and the time to meet. So that's what I had. We have a lot of exciting things going on in the clerk's office, and those are just a few.
Thank you. Any questions for the clerk? Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Tina, for being here today and to want to share this information. That's quite striking, that remarkable that already it's half full. Can you just remind me again, each building, where are they? Are they located near the clerk's office, inside the office? Where are those boxes located?
Sure. So here at 200 West Oak, they're inside the recording office. So if you come into the recording office, they're going to be right to the right-hand side. We have them inside the motor vehicle or the vehicle licensing office in Loveland and in Estes Park. So they're right inside the door. I should have maybe brought a picture, but there is a picture of them on the website. They are large. You're not going to miss them. So they stand about as tall as this podium here.
Great. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Commissioner Kafalis, any questions or comments?
Just a quick comment, just an expression of gratitude. Thank you for your good works, Madam Clerk and Recorder. And I think there's a nice story about this young Eagle Scout in the paper, probably in a couple of papers, and it's wonderful that you can support this project. It's really important, and it's a great, just a lovely kind of partnership. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'll just add my gratitude. Thank you. That's what a great program, and it's really great to be able to help out an Eagle Scout, and they always help out the community as well. So
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks for being here this morning.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
You too.
Okay, so we will move on to our one and only discussion item, and this is updating the comprehensive emergency plan. There's Lori. I didn't even see Lori Hodges. Lori Hodges, Director of Office of Emergency Management, is here to walk us through this item.
Morning, everybody. Lori Hodges, Director of Emergency Management, Larimer County. The Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan actually consists of multiple plans. The 6 base plans are the Emergency Operations Plan, Preparedness Plan, Mitigation, Recovery, Continuity of Government, and then Continuity of Operations. The 2 plans that are up for revisions and signature today are the Emergency Operations Plan, which is our response plan, and our recovery plan. The reason they're both up is because we learned some lessons from recent disasters, the Alexander Mountain Fire being the most recent, and so we have updated the plans to better represent what we actually do in the Emergency Operations Center and in our recovery. So I don't know if you guys have any questions about any of that. I do have new binders for all of you, so when I do get the signatures for the plans, I'll make the copies and I'll bring you guys your new binders with the full comprehensive plan in it.
Wonderful. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Kafalis.
Well, I do have questions. I didn't know we discussed this at greater length in one of our recent work sessions. I appreciate that we are able to learn from previous lessons and update things accordingly. Thank you for your good works as well, Lori Hodges.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to say, but I will go ahead and say it anyway. First, thank you, Lori. You and your team are extraordinary and exemplary, and I know our Larimer County Sheriff, John Fain's in the audience, and I know he's a big partner in working together as you all kind of debrief and pull pull lessons learned, and that's one of our guiding principles is continuous improvement and always looking for innovation, and that's something that your team is well known for. So I'm curious, every incident, natural disaster, wildfire, whatever, is unique. There's some things, as you said, there's a process where we follow the process because it's the same, whether it's a zombie apocalypse or a wildfire, it's the same process we follow. But tell me what kind of items, just for the public's knowledge, is it that we're looking for that is enough to make sure we're always being thoughtful and innovating that process. What kind of things, just for the public, they're wondering what was lessons learned. I'm sure there's some people, the two people that are listening this morning are probably curious. What are those lessons? So.
All right. Yeah, so our plan is an all hazards plan. We actually don't talk about hazards much except for in the hazard mitigation plan. That's the one plan where we dive into each hazard. We look at our history because history tells us kind of what we might have in the future. So our plans are based on process, like you mentioned. So the processes that we focus on are the things that we're going to need to be able to do regardless of the hazard. For example, resource management. Can we get the right resources at the right time for, road and bridge, or for the sheriff's office, or for any of our first responders who need those resources? Another one is public information management. Can we get information to the public accurately and timely? And can we work with our public information officer partners, whoever the lead agency is? Another one is policy direction. So how do we go before you guys as the board and other elected officials to discuss any kind of decisions that need to be made with regard to a disaster, such as disaster declarations, delegations of authority, cost share agreements that we might need signed. It could even be more difficult conversations like a curfew or any of those things like we had in other disasters. COVID was one where we had a lot of very difficult decisions to make. And so those are kind of some of the processes that we work on. And then how do we work within the Emergency Operations Center to make sure that the right partners are in the room who can solve those problems, because we're not going to have the answers to everything that's coming our way. But as long as we have the right people in the room, they're going to be able to figure out what those answers are. So building those relationships is the other big one. And all of those partners are part of these plans. I mentioned the 6 primary plans, but within those plans are multiple annexes. And all that means is it's a specific procedure or process that we're going to have, such as we have an annex for sheltering and comfort center establishment. We have evacuation and reentry that we did with the sheriff's office to make sure that we're in line with that. We have emergency alerts and warnings. How are we going to send out emergency alerts and warnings? So all of those are signed off by me as part of the larger base plans. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yep, that helps a lot. Thank you very much.
And I did forget to mention that the hazard mitigation plan is a 5-year plan. It's approved by FEMA every 5 years. It allows us to get pre- and post-disaster funding through FEMA. That plan is up for renewal this year, so the RFP will be going out this year for that. So probably sometime next year, I'll be bringing that plan before you guys for signature as well for an update. And the sheriff signs off on all of the 6 base plans along with the board, because the sheriff is one of our primary partners on everything that we're doing in emergency management.
Great. Thank you, Lori. Lorinda, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
I do. I think this is a really thoughtful approach, and if the public would like to hear more about it, the work session was a February 24th work session. I'll just direct you to our website. You can go watch that work session. And I really appreciate that this is sort of lifeline based as opposed to letters and numbers that we had used before that don't mean a lot if you're not in the EOC. This is more about energy and support. Communication, transportation, hazardous materials, those things that make sense in real language to people. I think it makes it easier to work in the EOC, understanding that those are the kind of the structures we work within. And I think this really does reflect the good work that happens in our EOC, which is really practical, hands-on, ordered chaos, maybe sometimes it feels like. And so updating these plans to match that effort is, I think, really important. It's a nice job you and your staff have done.
Thank you. And all of the plans are public except for the continuity of government plan. That plan is protected. So all of our plans can also be found once we get the signatures. We'll put them up on our website at larimer.org/emergency. You'll see all of the plans and the public can read them for the 2 people that are listening.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Lori. And yeah, I learned a lot at the February 24th meeting, and I do like the new approach. It does make sense for those of us who are not as embedded too. I think it's an easier way to understand the work that you do and how and our small role within that work. So thank you. Um, if there aren't any more comments or questions, I'll ask Commissioner Gonzalez to make a motion.
Yes, thank you, colleagues. I move to approve the resolution adopting updates to the Larimer County Comprehensive Emergency Management Plan.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes. Thank you, Lori.
So there are 4 documents. You're going to have the 2 plans that are signed. You're going to have the resolution updating those plans. And then there's the letter of promulgation, which is also just stating that you're updating the plan. So
Perfect. Pen in hand, I am ready to sign.
all right. And one last thing really quick. We did just finish a video for Emergency Operations Center to inform the public about really what goes on, since a lot of what we do is behind the scenes. So I'll be getting that video out to you guys for review shortly.
Wonderful. We'll look forward to that.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Our next agenda item is our county manager update. So Lorinda, take it away.
Thank you, Commissioners. I did a lot of internal coordination. 2 of you were away at a conference early last week. And so our regular meetings like this were not held. So there was a lot of time to focus on internal coordination. And I want to thank the staff for the time spent on that. One of the interesting things is that we have a really robust GIS department. What they do is they work with across the county on mapping and geospatial location of things that exist in the county, which sounds really nerdy, but I got to tell you, it was so cool to go to this meeting and listen to the vision of this group, where we're going to go in the next 5 years. Up until now, we've had a lot of separate GIS efforts in departments and offices, and this will really bring it all together into a layered map, a little different than how we've approached it in the past, but much more useful to I think our staff and certainly to the community. Anyone who's gone to the assessor's website and picks their address and sees that map pop up understands how valuable that mapping can be to tell a story about what we do in the community. And so while it's really buried deep inside our operation, it really is something that we use during emergencies. We can produce maps in a hurry. We can look and see where wildfire mitigation has occurred, where our partner agencies are working, so that we can not just live with our own information, but have community-based information as well. So it was really great to see the team that's going to be working on this and the tool that will now be available in the coming years to the community and to our staff. In addition to that, and now that I've nerded out on the GIS stuff, we had, I met with the Estes Park Town Manager, Travis Mihalik. We talk about things that are going on between our communities. Right now, solid waste and wildland firefighting are big interests of theirs. They've also submitted a BEAD grant, like we did, to extend their Trailblazer service outside of their service area. And so we hope that they're successful as well. And then I met with Fort Collins Downtown Development Authority Executive Director, Matt Robidoux. We have a lot in common as our building is in the downtown. And we jointly own the Civic Center parking structure with the City of Fort Collins and the DDA. So a lot of great work happening collaboratively in our community, and it's a pleasure to be able to talk to folks about how we can do better every day.
Thank you, Lorinda. Any questions or comments for Lorinda? Commissioner Shattuck McNally.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rhonda, I just want to build off your GIS discussion. I've always been very interested in that, and it's always been very cool what they're developing. I can't wait to see the final product. But I happen to be in another county as a private citizen trying to be incognito, and some business professionals were commenting on their own county's GIS and trying to find maps and navigate their website on these other counties. And they said, but you know that Larimer County, they have the best GIS I've ever seen. They're doing a really good job. And I said, oh, wow, that's great to hear. So I didn't, of course, I was still trying to be incognito, but I just thought for unsolicited feedback from other surrounding counties, they certainly were very appreciative of some of our tools on our website, and the GIS was they thought that's the easy ones, and they do a really good job. So I just wanted to share that. So
That's great to hear. Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next item, Commissioner activity reports. We'll start with Commissioner Shattuck McNally this morning.
thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. So, as probably a lot of folks know, or maybe some folks haven't heard, Commissioner Stevens and I were in Washington, D.C. for a conference for most of last week. We actually started in on last Friday, not last Friday, but the 28th, and we were it started off with already lots of activity and lots of hallway conversations as there's a lot of uncertainty with what's happening in the federal area. It was a lot of conversations that we were having, even with Canadian counties that came down and were talking with us and discussing and giving us a lot of data. Commissioner Stevens and I both serve on steering committees. I serve on the Environment, Energy, and Land Use Steering Committee, and I have to say it was very refreshing. Usually we're there from like 9 to 4 p.m. It's 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. They're long days, lots of conversations, lots of presentations, and then we talk about resolutions. They had both the minority and majority folks from the House and the Senate with Environment and Public Works and Emergency Works from both Senate committees. They're committees that are both the Senate and the House. They're discussing some work. And now, Lori and Hodges, I'm looking at you. I have some maps that they had produced from their committee that I don't have digitally. I have to make copies, but I think you'll find them very interesting. It talks about our wildfire risk, changes in insurance, changes in home values, and kind of the hot spots. And so this is actually some work from these committees. And so they both were showing how they were trying to work together, but also showing their differences. And so I wanted to share that because that was very pertinent for me to get some new information and to bring that back. So I'll try to get that and make some copies for you, Lori. I've been showing it around to other our senators and our Congress representatives. So I've talked to 5 of them and the 2 senators like multiple times over the last 10 days. And then we had 3 resolutions, and usually we have more, and they're very contentious, so we fight over them and lots of votes. But this is the first time we only had 3. And I just wanted to share that with the public, that it was very cordial, and we all were friendly amendments and was unanimous. I haven't had that in 4 years. So I just wanted to share a little bit of positive news about folks working together on things. And those 3 things were helping protect local governments and finding protections for us to have to deal with PFAS in our environment, which is a big national problem. And it's actually something that we're dealing with here in Larimer County. Also, how to streamline and work on the NEPA process and how that needs to have some barriers taken down. And then looking at how we can work across multiple departments when there's a natural disaster, that when you're trying to apply to all, and I think, Lori, this is something that you have brought up before, but I wanted to tell you, since you're here, that's why I'm going this long story, that trying to find one spot where everyone can apply one application, then it goes out to the different departments. So I wanted to tell you that was, since you're here, I wanted to share that was very important to have the unanimous in these kind of discussions. And then our Rural Action Caucus, which is a large caucus, there's probably over 1,000 people in that caucus at least, and we were in that room having lots of presentations from our colleagues from around the world and also from around the country, and talking about housing and looking at some of the trends in housing and affordable housing or even rental assistance was quite alarming, and I have some screenshots and pictures from that as well. And of course I had to stand up because they didn't talk about water, and I said, well, what about water and adequate water? And they said, well, that is a problem and probably not for today for a long discussion. So I wanted to just share how when we go to this legislative conference, we work very hard, and there's a lot of partnerships and discussions, and it was very productive. We got to go on the Hill and talk and meet with one-on-one with both Senator Hickenlooper, Senator Bennett, Congressman DeGoose, Congresswoman Boebert, talked with Congresswoman Brittany Patterson the last week or so, and she just had a baby. So as you know, she famously flew across the country that Tuesday with her newborn, 4-week-old newborn, to take a vote because she's not allowed to vote by proxy. And we had a lot of important conversations, and there was a lot of hallway activity. And I just wanted to tell you all, we're working very hard trying to make sure our funding is in place and going through and making sure they understand the needs and what's happening here to our residents and to Larimer County. So I wanted to share that. When we came back, of course, right back in running full force starting the next morning. I did attend the NOCO Foundation President's Lunch and Learn with Kristen Todd and some of our folks. Mark Johnson from our Economic Workforce and Development was also there. And it was very interesting to hear some of the things that they're doing and some of their projections on how to support kind of nonprofits in general going forward. And they were just kind of sharing their vision for what's going forward. So that was really important. As always, we have our Regional Opioid Abatement Learning Forum. I wanted to announce and share with everyone that was so successful, the statewide regional alerting opioid abatement that we had last fall, that the Attorney General is bringing it back to Larimer County in October again because it was so successful and went from to a very large group of around 500. And so we'll be back at the ranch of the Embassy Suites in October, and it's a great opportunity. And I believe the second day Rethinking Addiction is open for folks who want to come that are from the public. I attended the State of the Association from the Associated Students of CSU, and it was a lot of speeches, but I have to tell you, our leaders are here looking and listening to these amazing speeches from these student leaders was what I needed to hear and kind of filled up my bucket and gave me hope. These folks were very articulate and well-informed and had some really powerful things to say, and appreciate the invitation and the work that they're doing. I've been meeting with the Forest Service and having some conversations. Those meetings are ongoing. And then I filled in for Commissioner Stevens. I know she wasn't feeling well, but I wanted to say thank you, Commissioner Stevens, for letting me have that opportunity to fill for you on the democracy local governance panel for CSU. There was all 4 women. And it was interesting. I don't know if it was just kind of planned that way, but it was really great conversation, and we had some great topics. And I just want to thank CSU, Sam Hodling and his students, and how they put this Democracy Summit together, because I did go on the next day, and I thought it was interesting. They had a guest speaker, which is the NCAA president, and I thought, what does the NCAA president have to do with democracy and stuff? And so it was I forgot he had been governor of Massachusetts for 2 terms and talk about his journey. And it actually was very connecting and very powerful. And he Commissioner Stevens, I'll share a couple of these books. He had some pretty cool books to share, and everyone was looking it up and getting ready. And so I think that was really a time well spent. I connected with a lot of community leaders, a lot of other electeds. And I just wanted to thank, again, CSU and the students and President Amy Parsons for supporting that activity. I think it's really important to have that opportunity to share. The statewide, through General Opioid Outcome Data Work Group, I'm also on that, working with the ROAC, the Regional Opioid Abatement Council, and we're doing a lot trying to line all the data that we're doing throughout the 17 regions, but also at a statewide, and how we make sure how we're spending that money is working and being metrics and being measurable. But we are saving lives, and I think we're kind of leading the country in a lot of ways when how we're recording this data and getting this forward. And so this is a very facilitated conversation, and I just wanted to share that. And then just real quick, I appreciate being invited by some local women who organized the Women's March on Fort Collins. I marched with them on Saturday afternoon, was able to give a speech. There was, I think, at least 500 people there, if not more. It was quite remarkable. Lots of great speeches, lots of engagement. And then I went down in Loveland's Heart and Soul, had an International Women's Day event at the museum, and there was some pretty powerful speakers from the Filipino community and from the Latinx community, sharing some of their cultural heritage and how they've learned from women in their lives and standing on their shoulders. And it was really, really a powerful and very enlightening event. And that's all I have to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Kafalis.
I'll just share a couple of things that I think might be of interest to folks. So Last week on the previous Saturday, March 1, I participated in intergenerational conversations. This was an event organized to have older people at the table engage with younger people, and it was held at the Compass Community Collaborative School, and it was very interesting. And we had an eighth grader from the school there. I think her first name was Miriam, and she was just really sharp and wonderful. Tuesday, March 4th, I attended the Biz West Affordable Housing Work Session at the at Laurie Student Center. It was a good session, a lot of participation, a lot of good ideas in terms of moving forward with continuing to chip away at the matter of housing and housing security. And so I'm glad I participated. There'll be follow up. I also attended the City of Fort Collins International Women's Day proclamation at the City Hall on that Tuesday, and that was also good. I was glad to be there. Interestingly, there were people exercising their free speech rights outside of City Hall. Perhaps 300 people gathered, expressing opinions about peacefully assembled our current state of affairs. So I'm encouraged that folks are exercising their First Amendment rights. Evening Parks Advisory Board meeting updates on Chimney Hollow Reservoir and the recreation area, other discussions, discussions about the impacts of the pauses in federal funding, regarding some of the infrastructure work that is to take place at Carter Lake and Horsetooth. Wednesday, March 5th. Oh, this was my favorite event, actually. I attended fourth graders at Dunn Elementary School. They did an extraordinary job. They did a mock commissioner's hearing. I think we could probably learn a thing or two from them. But they there were five commissioners. They were Clear Creek County commissioners, and they had a rezoning issue that they were addressing. And they had the commissioners. They had a clerk there. And they had the treasurer there. I'm not quite sure why that was. And then they had a whole bunch of people lined up, stakeholders, people offering public comment. I mean, they went through the whole process similar to how we do things here, Pledge of Allegiance. And in the end, they had questions, deliberation, very civil, and they unanimously voted to turn down the rezoning request, which would have changed the zoning so that a ski area could have been created, and that was not successful. They were awesome, and I hope to follow up with them. Almost done here. I think maybe Commissioner Shattuck McNally may have mentioned, but the ASCSU students at Colorado State did an event. I guess they call it the State of the Association address. They had Rico Munn there as the keynote. He did a wonderful job. It was a great event, but it was long. Finally, I did my normal thing of chairing the State Board of Human Services meeting on Friday, and we considered three rules. First reading, among other things, but dealing with the issue of sometimes kids that have been adopted. There can be transfers of custody without going through the proper procedures, putting the children at risk. And so this was trying to put some parameters, guidelines, rules, regulations around addressing unregulated transfer of custody in adoption matters and actually other matters. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll be brief. As Commissioner Shattuck McNally said, we were at the National Association of Counties conference last week. I'd like to thank my fellow commissioners from around the country for giving me a wonderful case of influenza that I brought back to my family and other colleagues here. Beyond that, before I did get sick at the conference, we I'm the vice chair of the Transportation Committee at the National Association of Counties. We talked a lot about what we'd like to see in the surface transportation reauthorization, providing the government does get refunded or votes to stay in business. But that surface transportation reauthorization will be coming up in the next year, and so really important to see what kind of grant opportunities and transportation funding that we can get from this. As we know, funding is difficult from the federal government, and infrastructure is expensive. So those dollars are important to our community. We then, as Commissioner Shattuck McNally said, visited Capitol Hill, and I would just say to folks who are listening that one of our goals in visiting Capitol Hill was to really talk about some of the programs that are so important to our residents. So programs like human service programs, programs like Medicaid, food benefits, women, infant, and children, food funding, child care, temporary assistance for needy families. These are programs that people in our community who are vulnerable rely on to meet their daily needs. And so really wanted to express to our congressional officials how important it is for them to look out for that funding as they do their business. Really talked a lot about programs that could or have been frozen and how we can get dollars moving, because we know everything from emergency management to transportation to funding for at our reservoirs, it has the potential of being paused. And we would like that money to keep flowing because these are projects that we need to do in our community. And so really try to make sure that they understood the need that we have and some of the concerns that we have around funding. And I think that those meetings were largely successful. We met with our whole congressional delegation, as Commissioner Shattuck McNally said. I think they were receptive. I think that they are also in a state of uncertainty, but I think we brought home the idea that they understand, the needs that we have in the community, and that we really need this federal funding. So I think that we were successful. Did want to talk about a couple meetings that I was able to take from home last week as I suffered in my bed. Transportation meetings still go on, and unfortunately I wasn't able to be in person for those meetings because we were actually hosting those meetings, but the Upper Front Range Transportation Planning Region met on Thursday. We reviewed and approved our project list for the upcoming 10 years. So Eric Tracy and I from engineering had talked about our priorities for the next 10 years, and Eric had met with both Wellington and Estes Park to review projects that were important to them, and then we assembled this list and met with CDOT to talk through that list as well. CDOT thought that was a good list. We'll do everything from looking at transit in Wellington, for example, working on road safety in other places, and so we got that list approved through the Upper Front Range TPR, and we will move forward with those projects as we have money and as CDOT finds money for those projects. And again, at the MPO, we also discussed our 10-year priority list. That has not been approved yet. We are working as communities to really try to refine that list and decide whether we want a corridor plan or we want to prioritize separate projects within each county. We work with Weld County in the MPO, and so that's to be decided how we're going to prioritize those projects, but a lot of projects in Larimer County, including multimodal projects. And then finally, just wanted to announce, and I don't know if I had officially ever done this, but we do have a new transportation commissioner, Cecil Gutierrez. Many people are familiar with him. He was a former mayor of Loveland. He has also served in a role in the CTIO with CDOT, and so he has a lot of familiarity with transportation projects and should be a great advocate for us at the state level for Region 4, which is Larimer, Weld, and Morgan counties. And I think that is it for me. So With that, we have no other business to come before the board, and we're going to adjourn right at 10 o'clock on the dot. Thanks, everyone. See you next week.